this decade on behalf of 4G. His book, Augmented, Life in the Smart Lane, was shown in books being read by Xi Jinping during the 2018 State of the Union speech. Please welcome to the FinWise stage the CEO of Praxis Digital, Alex Lightman.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, Alex Lightman. Nice to see you. Good morning.
Good morning. 你好. Okay, great, wonderful. So I'm going to talk about where the thing that is of most interest to the Chinese that I know, which is where the big money is. There are many examples of evolution in history, and the basic idea is something new happens, and then there's, in mathematical terms, what's called the exploration of the phase space. Many new things are tried, and then there's a collapse of the things that don't work, and you go to the things that do work. So I've seen over 1,000 different ways that people have tried to make money from blockchain and crypto, and they don't really get at the heart of where the money is. So I'm going to show this today. Now, if I were going to go through all the slides word for word, it would take an hour. So I'm just going to highlight it. However, if you come up and you teach me something about crypto or blockchain in China, I will take down your information and send you the slides. So that's our transaction. Okay, so these are terms of service, and they're basically, look at this. So Google is a company worth anywhere between $700 billion and $1 trillion. This service may collect, use, and share location data. It can read your private messages. It tracks you to other websites. You agree to defend, indemnify, and hold the service harmless in case of a claim related, meaning you pay the legal costs. Blocking cookies may limit your ability to use it. Amazon, terms may change at any time with no notice. It can track you. It can delete your account without notice, without a reason. It can change them, and it can force you into binding arbitration. IMDb, which is a movie site, it tracks you. Terms can change. It can transfer your personal data as part of a financial transaction. Can use tracking pixels, web beacons, browser fingerprinting, device fingerprints, and this is a fun one to me. The court of law governing the terms is in a jurisdiction that is less friendly to user privacy protection. So this is what we do in the United States. It's called jurisdiction shopping. Jurisdiction shopping says that you have a court system in a place like East Tyler, Texas, which is known to always find for the plaintiff, for the person who is making the complaint. So YouTube can change any time. They can remove your content at any time. It can process personal information. Twitter, very broad copyright license. They own your content. GitHub, your account can be suspended, your data defined. So these are the San Francisco business models, San Francisco Silicon Valley business models that say, if I want to summarize it, all your data belong to us. We can do anything we want with the data. We pay you nothing. You pay legal costs if there's a problem, and we can change this anytime for any reason that we want to. So to me, this is where the money is you have a challenge from China, because most of the guests, if not all of them here, are speakers, but those of you who are paying attendees are mostly from China. So if you can make a better system than this, you can actually attack a market much bigger than the Chinese market, which is the 6.5 billion people who don't live in China. So we have a term now, some of you have heard of before, called surveillance capitalism. And basically it's a new parasitic form of capitalism that has arisen as a consequence of big data utopianism. This new utopian vision says that all technology is smart, it's always connected, and it provides the product as a service, where data is considered to be without ownership and is seen as a panacea. All problems can be solved with more data. That's the idea. It's basically all the big players in technology, and the aim is you have all this unstructured data, and how do you provide certainty to advertisers? There's a saying in the United States, maybe you have it in China, but half of my advertising dollars are wasted, but I don't know which half. And so the idea is that Google knows which half. It doesn't necessarily tell you, but there's a lot of money in having everybody feel that they will have a good deal. And I will show you the real numbers of what this is worth in a few slides. And the idea is to change behavior on a large scale. Now, what is this? This is the largest mass surveillance infrastructure that's ever been known in the world. It affects anywhere, depending on how you look at it, from 3 to 6 billion people. And the idea is you make society, you make people think that digital data are waste products. They're like the things you flush down a toilet, and they have no value, so don't worry about it. And the idea is accumulation through dispossession. And the dispossession is your rights, your natural rights that are given to you by law and through constitutions. And the surveillance is implicit, explicit, and ubiquitous. It never stops. And it reports behaviors, habits, tastes, and beliefs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And I point this out because much of the criticism of the United States and the West towards China is a surveillance society. But we have created our own companies and rewarded them with all public financing to do something that is equal or worse. So a lot of this started with something called PRISM. And the PRISM basically, this is something that was revealed by Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden has a book that the Department of Justice is suing him over because it's true. It's all true. And all of the U.S. government has basically made a devil's bargain with all of these technology companies, which is we won't really make sure that you give people all of their rights, and in return you share all the data with us. And so this is why the Chinese government is justified in banning Google, banning Facebook, and other people because there's no clear, sharp line between the intelligence community and these corporations, number one. And number two, there's no clear line that shows that all of these things are used for legitimate government national security purposes. In fact, Snowden says that they're not. For instance, people working there are tracking their ex-girlfriends to see who they're dating and things like that. So we have this, I'm pushing the button and it's not working. Here we go. So in Charles Dickens' Little Dorrit, they say that you should practice speaking English by saying prunes and prisms because it gives the lips a nice shape. So we can see this. And the basic idea is that you have this. I would take a long time to go through it, but this is the process. And this used to be top secret information. It was revealed by Snowden and others, so it's not secret anymore. What's the big data ecosystem? Well, it's kind of like the Wild West, and it's all the infrastructure, the analytics, and machine learning, 2 to 4 quintillion bytes a day. So you have million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion. Each time I'm adding 3 zeros to that number. It's worth $2 trillion by 2025, and I'll show you that in a minute. And it's very much like strip mining, taking all of the materials. It creates a zero-cost asset. There's no cost for the input. So an oil company must pay for the oil. A cobalt company must pay a royalty for the cobalt. There's no cost. Nobody's paying for this. And here's the big thing. This is from Eric Schmidt, who I've known for a long time, but he says this in his book about how Google works. The online world is not truly bound by terrestrial laws. It's the world's largest ungoverned space. So what the companies that are doing this, they see as the mentality that governments have no say in this. They can ban you from a market, but they can't tell you what to do on a day-to-day basis. And here's the money I promised. Okay, so let's look at this. Digital advertising revenues in the US. So Google, let's just look at 2018, last year. $41 billion, Facebook $22 billion, Amazon $4 billion, Microsoft $4.5 billion, Oath, which is part of Verizon, $3.6 billion, Twitter $1.4, etc. So that's $111 billion, and you see the basic distribution. This creates market cap of between $2 and $3 trillion. Now, to put this in perspective, because a lot of you are grown up in prosperity in China, I can tell you that back around the peak of the dot-com boom, Cisco was worth $555 billion. Do you know how much all the stocks in all the People's Republic of China were worth? $256 billion. So we are talking about something that within the lifetime of every single person, I don't see any children in here, every single person is 10 times the value of all the companies traded in China. Now, here's where the money really gets. You've heard of somebody say data is the new oil, right? You've heard that? Well, the numbers actually bear that out. So gathered and used by major internet platforms, data brokers, credit card, and healthcare, if you add this up, in 2022, personal information gathered by these companies will be about $200 billion. Just these companies here, all of which are American companies, that will be on par with the oil produced in the United States, which will be 200 to 300 billion. And you probably know now that the United States has become, again, we were for a very long time, we're once again the world's largest oil producer. So oil has been the thing that's driven the economy more than anything else for the last 150 years. And just the information, just from companies, and most of these companies are based in the Pacific Northwest, so between Silicon Valley and Seattle. It's an area that only has about 25, 30 million people. They're controlling something that is more than all the rest of the oil in the United States. So when people are talking about how to make money from crypto, this is where the real money is. This is going, and how do you get it? You give better terms of service, and you share the wealth with people, and you make use of crypto. So this is a whole lot of merger and acquisition that's driven by this. I don't have time since I've gotten 5 minutes. So basically the idea is that you have this institutionalization of all this. So I highly recommend getting the book Life After Google by my friend of 20 years, George Gilder. And he contrasts the system of the world of Google with the system of the cryptocosm, which I have to go through very quickly. But the basic idea is that security first is the principle of the cryptocosm. So I'm going to just now dive into the blockchain part. What's useful about it? Well, you have an economy of individuals and business has many, many benefits here that can change terms of service. First of all, privacy is a big deal within this community. And in recent years, all these companies have been under government investigation. 50 state attorneys general are investigating Google for antitrust right now. And so the idea is that we want to basically make use of the fact that the information is securely in the hands of the owners, and you have public and private keys. So the public key is made available to all people, but you own your own keys. And none of these companies would survive if we could figure out in the crypto community how to make it easy for individuals to own private keys. So you also have a big benefit of security. The security of the Bitcoin blockchain, for instance, is vastly beyond anything from Google. I had my account hacked. My Google password was cracked by somebody in Indonesia after I gave a speech there. And then I still don't have access to my Binance account. So I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars as a result of that. I can't get it back. And you want to basically eliminate third parties. You want to be able to go direct. And this is one thing that crypto is very, very good. And also, we want to avoid fraudulent transactions. This may shock you, but the amount of cybercrime lost in the United States each year is about $400 billion a year, because the US government has given 2 missions to the NSA. One mission is cybersecurity, and the other is surveillance. So as I've said on television, the NSA has filled the world with broken locks that are meant to be broken. And what's the solution? The solution is to advocate for a convergence of public understanding, corporate empathy, and state-level policy. And you want to basically educate people from an early age that your data belongs to you. And you're talking about what that data is and how people can use it. We have to teach this to children from age 6 at the earliest years. We should have a better code of conduct that we come up with in the crypto industry. We should be leaders, because it's not going to be done by these companies. They make money by having people think that the data is worthless. We have to have a fair legal framework, fair pay, fair use. And we have to have ideological support for the idea of freedom to choose without manipulation. 1 minute. Okay. So basically what we want to have is going from we are the product to something where we are sharing the revenue of the product. And there's this old system, this is the system here, resource extraction, exploitation, to a new way, powered by blockchain, resource, recompense, and exploitation. But basically what we're doing is we're looking at the change in value that's there from system that is parasitic to one that is transparent. So this is a very simple thing. Again, if it's not going to be done by the blockchain industry, by Americans working with Chinese, it's not going to be done at all. So summary, cryptocosm is just the new economy built on blockchain-based technologies. Blockchain is the foundation. It's a massive shift from the current economy, and it fixes the flaws that have created these business models. And basically, Tim Berners-Lee, the guy who is given credit as the creator of the World Wide Web, though it was built on SGML, something from the US military, but he's given credit. He said that blockchain would help reduce the big internet companies' influence and return the web to its original vision. And the thing that I would show you where we can find what we need is to have blockchain-based medical data privacy results, because these companies really have to stop at the doorway of medical data for a simple reason. We have something called HIPAA, and we can charge people, what, $5,000. Oh, time's up. Basically, we charge people a lot of money per record per day. So you can have all kinds of ways to do it. This is my final slide. So let's use blockchain to utilize positive effects of big data without enslaving the users. And what is a slave? A slave is a person who can work but not have any benefit from the fruits of his work. And so we want this convergence to lead to more intelligent machine, personalized healthcare that gives people exactly the medicine they need, no more, no less. Cognitive support, emotional support, solving social problems, better economic modeling, and a more knowing environment that's responsive to us. I hope this has been useful. I hope that someone in here makes $100 billion from this information. 谢谢，再见。
Well, thank you, Mr. Alex Lightman. Thank you for sharing and thank you for attending.